This one West World.
I guess I should ride with Lex.
They talk about man. Oh, it's it's about time, so no cursing to our enemies. You can try to run where you going, it's your destiny. You gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to do, another legacy.
If gotta do the shit, when I do it carefully. You can lose everything you own over jealousy. When I met her, I ain't never sweat her, I just let her breathe. See you down, keep my foot on you, that's not my pedigree. At your throat, I done took her over, I pray I never leave. I'm a different guy, you're surprised, tucked in my sleeve. Boy, you fucking stupid, sold your seat for some bloody beef. True nation, cut the conversation, better keep it brief.
It's about time, so no cursing to our enemies. You can try to run where you going, it's your destiny. You gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to witness, don't begin another legacy.
It's about time, send the curses to them enemies. You can try to run where you going, this your destiny. Fusion gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to witness, the beginning of a legacy. It's about time, send the curses to them enemies. You can try to run where you going, this your destiny. Fusion gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to witness, the beginning of a legacy. They don't wanna know, we tell them, they just won't believe. It's about the journey, I ain't worried, moving at my speed. Saying we ain't much to be desired, gotta disagree. Sorry, one of mine, then we spinning like rotisserie. Go against the odds, I'm ready, this another victory. Different niggas moving foul, where the referee. Moving like the military, something they ain't never seen. One West World for the people, this is what they need.
It's about time, so no curses to our enemies. You can try to run where you going, it's your destiny. You gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to witness, the beginning of a legacy.
It's about time, send the curses to them enemies. You can try to run where you going, this your destiny. Fusion gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to witness, the beginning of a legacy. It's about time, send the curses to them enemies. You can try to run where you going, this your destiny. Fusion gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. What you get to witness, the beginning of a legacy.
Shalom Israel, Yabashim Shabbat Thumb. To the brothers, Yashima Thumb by Shem Yashai. To the sisters, I'm Priest Officer Parag, holding down the Sabbath service for the ISUPK coming out of Arizona. If you're watching online, you can see at the very bottom of the screen our class location. We have class at 12416 North 28th Drive in Phoenix, Arizona. We're in suite number 4, right off of the corner of 28th Drive and Cactus. All right. We got classes every Tuesday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. And every Saturday we hold our Sabbath services from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All right. So today we're going to be talking about, we're going to be in the book of Genesis, and we're going to be talking about Joseph. It's a lot to be learned. The scriptures say the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. These things were scribed down by scribes. They were written down by scribes, so that way we could look back on these things and understand our forefathers and understand how they moved. Especially today, what we're going to talk about is the way that Joseph moved in the land of his captivity. All right. Because we, quick crash course on this, of course, Joseph is one of the 12 sons of Israel. And he was sold into slavery to the Egyptians by his own brothers. Okay. They were jealous of him because he was known as Joseph the Dreamer. And he would get these visions in his dreams. And one of his visions was of basically long story short, his brothers bowing down to him like he was the top brother. That was one of his visions. He told this vision to his brothers and father. They didn't appreciate it very much. They didn't like that. So they threw him into a pit and they sold him to some people who eventually sold him into to the Egyptians. So he went into captivity. The thing about it, though, is that Joseph, when he went into that captivity, he was the first Israelite to be in captivity in Egypt under the Egyptians. But he found favor in the sight of Pharaoh. We're going to read about all of this. He found favor in the sight of Pharaoh, and he was made almost like a vice president type of thing. He was, he was in a seat of where he was damn near calling some of the shots in Egypt. And he was supposed to just be some servant or slave. But because of the favor that the Most High bestowed upon him, he found favor in the eyes of the leader of that land, which is not us. It's a Hamite. Pharaoh was a Hamite. The Egyptians are Hamites. They come from a totally different lineage than us. And they hate the children of Israel. But because the Most High bestowed that level of praise upon him because of his service to the Most High, he was allowed to be placed in a high seat in the land of Egypt. And so the whole point, what I really want to get down to is the fact that no matter what captivity you're in, whatever state you're in, you can always, if you're favored by the Most High, the scriptures say, if a man's ways please the Most High, even his enemies, will reverence him, right? And that's what happened in what we're going to read today with Joseph. We're also going to touch on a couple of things in the sense of Joseph actually kept the law. There was a tradition. This is another thing I want to talk about today. There was a oral law. Before the written law of Moses, there was still like adultery was considered unlawful amongst the children of God. So a lot of times people say, well, that's the law of Moses. They say, Christians usually are the ones that say this. You can't keep that law, or Christ didn't want you to keep that law because that's the law of Moses. Moses is the one that delivered the law, but we're going to find out that even before Moses, right, there was an oral tradition amongst the children of Israel, going all the way back to Adam before Israel was even born or thought of, a speck in somebody's eye. There was an oral tradition or an oral law that the Most High gave to his chosen people. I'm talking too much. We're going to find out all about that today in this class, but we'll be in Genesis, the 39th chapter. We're going to read a specific story out of the book of Genesis that talks about Joseph and his righteousness and why he was, put in the position that he was in, instead of just being some slave. You understand? So we're going to go ahead and get started. Just make sure we in the right spot. All right, with that, Amayim, which means to stand. Payagodam, which means to turn and face the east, which is that way. We're going to begin with the prayers. Beginning with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanaw, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Ayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Taba'ah, Batazaka, Ayah, Aisha, Ma'arataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Thalanawa, Lacham, Kalyawam, Wasalakanawa, Kawatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawathinawa, Wala'ah, Tabayano, Manasai 1, Abal, Awashai Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Hamath, Slaki, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Watha Parath, Laiwalumium. Aman. All right, we're going to read that same prayer, the Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. So be it. The Akak, or the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Vashem Yahushai,
Hashem Yahushua,
Babakushah,
Babakashah,
Bethana Nawa Hakat,
Sanam Hakat,
Hakat Larapa'ah,
Hakat Wapah,
Kal Maka'ala,
Kamakah,
Wakal Madawa,
Kamawa,
Hakat Latahar,
Hakat Matahar,
Hamatazarayu,
Matazarayu,
Hakat,
Hakat,
Lakwayam,
Akwayam,
Hamathium,
Hamath,
Hakat,
Hakat,
Arakawa,
Arakawa,
Atama'ala,
Atama'ala,
Agarashan,
Agarashan,
Vashem Yahushai,
Hashem Yahushua,
Wadaman.
Wadaman.
We're going to read the Hakat, the power in the English. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahushai,
name Yahushua,
please give us the power.
please give us the power.
The power to heal all manner of sickness
Power to heal all manner of sickness,
and all manner of disease.
all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
Power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to raise the dead.
Power to raise the
The
dead.
power against unclean spirits
Power against unclean spirits.
to cast them out.
To cast them
In
out.
the name of Yahushai,
Name Yahushua.
thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it.
I'm going to read Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah,
Asha'ah,
Ayanya,
Ayanya,
Ahaharya,
Ahaharya,
Ma'ayan,
Ma'ayan,
Yaba'ah,
Yaba'ah,
Isaiah,
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 Ma'aim,
Ma'aim,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Aisha,
Aisha,
Shamayam,
Shamayam,
Waratazah,
Waratazah,
Al-Yathan,
Al-Yathan,
Lamawat,
Lamawat,
Ragalka,
Ragal,
Al-Yanawam,
Ayanawam,
Shamarka,
Shamarka,
Hana,
Hana,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Yanawam,
Yanawam,
Wala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Yayashan,
Yashan,
Slaki Shalmar,
Shalmar,
Yashala,
Yasharal,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Shamarka,
Shamar,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Tazalka,
Tazal,
Al-Yad,
Ayah,
Yamyanka,
Yamyaka,
Yawamam,
Yamam,
Hashamash,
Hashemah,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Yakaka,
Yakaka,
Wayarak,
Wayirah,
Walayala,
Wayirah,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamarka,
Yashamarka,
Makal Rai,
Makarai,
Yashamar,
Yashamar,
Abnapashka,
Napash,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamar,
Yashamar,
Taza'athka,
Taza'ath,
Waba,
Wabah,
Wa'aka,
Wa'aka,
Ma'aitha,
Ma'aitha,
Wa'ai,
Wa'ai,
Awalam.
Awalam.
All right, we're going to read Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
I lift up mine eyes unto the hills.
From whence cometh my help?
Whence cometh my help?
My help cometh from Yahweh,
My help cometh from Yahweh,
which made heaven and earth.
which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee will not
He
slumber.
that keepeth thee will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Yashalah
he that keepeth Yasharal
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil.
Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in,
and thy coming in.
from this time forth
From this time forth,
and even forevermore.
even forevermore.
All right, we're going to read Psalms, the 83rd chapter in the Hebrew. Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Aldama Yalaka,
Adam Yalakah,
Al Thakarash,
Al Takaras,
Wa Al Thashakwat,
Al Tashakwat,
Al
Al
Kayahana,
Kayahana,
Awa Yabika,
Al Yabika,
Yamaya 1,
Ramaya 1,
Ra'ash,
Ra'ash,
Al Aimaka,
Al Ainuk,
Yarayamwa,
Yarwa Yambu,
Sawadah,
Sawadah,
Wayatha,
Wayatha,
Yaitazawa,
Yaitazawa,
Altaza Pawanyaka,
Atazapawanya,
Amarwa,
Amar,
Lakawa,
Lakawa,
Wanakakidam,
Wanakakidam,
Magalia,
Magai,
Wala'a,
Wala,
Yazakar,
Yazakar,
Shem Yashala,
Shem Yasa,
Awada,
Awada,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Nawa Aitazawa,
Aitazawa,
Laba,
Laba,
Yakhadwa,
Yakadwa,
Alyaka,
Ayuk,
Baryath,
Raya,
Yakarathwa,
Yakarathwa,
Ahalya,
Ahaya,
Adawam,
Adawam,
Washmaelium,
Washmaeli,
Mawa'aba,
Mawa'abu,
Wahagaryum,
Wagari,
Gabal,
Gabal,
Wama 1,
Wamawan,
Wamalak,
Wamalat,
Palashath,
Palashat,
I'm Yeshebya,
Ayeshabi,
Tazawar,
Tazawar,
Gamashawar,
Ramashawar,
Nalawa,
Malawa,
Imam,
Imam,
Hayawa,
Hayawat,
Zarwai,
Sarawat,
Labanya Luwat,
Bangawat,
Salah,
Salat,
Ashalaham,
Asharaham,
Kamadyan,
Kamadi,
Kasaya,
Kasaya,
Sara'ah,
Sara'ah,
Kayabyan,
Kayabi,
Mankal,
Nakar,
Koyashwan,
Koyashwan,
Nashamadwa,
Shemag,
Bayan,
Bayan,
Dara,
Darat,
Hayawa,
Hayawat,
Daman,
Daman,
La'arama,
Adam,
Sayathamwa,
Shaitam,
Nada,
Nadat,
Yamawa,
Yamawat,
Kairab,
Kairab,
Wakaza Abba,
Wakazab,
Wakaza Bak,
Wakazabak,
Wakata Zal,
Wakazal,
Mana'ai,
Mana'ai,
Call,
Call,
Messiah Kamwa,
Saikamu,
Ashar,
Ashar,
Amarwa,
Amar,
Nairashah,
Nairashah,
Lanawa,
Now,
Ath,
Nawat,
Nawat, Alahayim,
Alahai,
Alahayim,
Alahai,
Sayathamwa,
Shaitam,
Kagalgala,
Kagaga,
Kakwash,
Kakwash,
Lapanya,
Apanya,
Raka,
Raka,
Ka'ash,
Ka'ash,
Babaira,
Tabaira,
Ya'ira,
Ya'ayu,
Kalahaba,
Wakalabat,
Thalahat,
Talahat,
Haryam,
Maryam,
Khan,
Dan,
Tharadapma,
Tawadatma,
Basa Iraka,
Iraka,
Wabasa,
Wabasai,
Wapafka,
Wapatha,
Tabahalam,
Tabahalam,
Mala'a,
Wala'ah,
Panyaham,
Panyaham,
Kwalawan,
Kwalawan,
Wayabakwashwa,
Wayabakashwa,
Shamka,
Shimka,
Yahawah,
Yahau,
Yabashwa,
Yabashwa,
Wayabahawa,
Wayabahara,
Aya'ai,
Ayai,
Wayakaparwa,
Wayakaparwa,
Wayabadwa,
Wayabad,
Wayada'aiwa,
Wayada'ayu,
Kayatha,
Kayatha,
Shamka,
Shimka,
Yahawah,
Yahau,
Labadka,
Labat,
Ayawan,
Ayuwan,
Akal,
Akal,
Haratas.
Aratha.
All right, we're going to read that same prayer, Psalms, the 83rd chapter. We're going to read it in English. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
Be not still, O God.
For lo,
lo,
thine enemies make a tumult.
Thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
Come,
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Let's cut them off from being a nation.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom. And the Ishmaelites. Of Moab. And the Hagarenes. Gebal. And Ammon. And Amalek. The Philistines. With the inhabitants of Tyre. So also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites. As to Sisera. As to Jabin. At the brook of Kasan. Which perished and endured. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like a red. And like Zeheb. Yea. All their princes as Zabah. And as Amunah. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. Oh my God. Make them like a wheel. As the stubble before the wind. As the fire burneth the wood. And as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest. And make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame. That they may seek thy name. O Yahweh. Let them be confounded in trouble forever. Yea. Let them be put to shame and perish. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, are the most high over all the earth. All right, we're going to read the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh. Wa Yahweh Shai. Wa Ma'aka'ala. Wa Lahayim. Matazav Yah. Allah Wab Yahana. Ha'ala Wapium. Hasarenyum. Hakwatazayanyum. Hakayayim. Wa Hagwathi. Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The Waraman. All right, in the English. Bless you, Yahweh. And Yahweh Shai. And Michael. And the angels. Commanding General Yahana. The generals. The captains. The officers. The troopers. And the sisters. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you. So be it. Sorry, where Shai. You can turn and be seated. All right. Once again, we're going to be in Genesis, the 39th chapter. I believe we're going to begin at the third verse, I believe. 2 seconds. I'm going to pull it up. Right. So we're going to start at 3. We got to read 7 verses in the Hebrew. We're going to start at verse 3, go 3 through 9. But when we read in the English, we'll probably start from the beginning just to give it some context. So I'm going to read in the Hebrew, Genesis chapter 39, or Bara Ashiath, which means in the beginning. I'm going to read chapter 39, beginning with verse 3 on down to verse 9. Let me find verse 3. So like it. Wayara'ah, Adanyawa, Kaya, Yahweh, Athwa, Wakal, Ashar, Awa'ah, Aisha, Yahweh, Matazal Yacha, Bayadwa, verse 4, Waya Matazah, Yawasap, Khan, Ba'ayan, Yawa, Waya Sharath, Afwa, Wayapaquad, Hawa, Al, Bayathwa, Wakal, Yash, Lawa, Nathan, Bayadwa, verse 5, Wayahaya, Ma'azah, Hapaquayad, Akwa, Salakin, Baba Yathwa, Wa'al, Kal, Ashar, Yash, Lawa, Salakin. Forgive me, y'all. Slocky, y'all. Give me 1 second. Forgive me. Shalom, can I help you? Shalom, can I help you? Forgive me, y'all. Where we at? All right. Where bar ka Yahweh ath Bayath Hamatazar Yah Bagalar Yawasap Wayahaya Baraktha Yahweh Bakar Ashar Yash Lawa Babayath Wabashada. Verse 6. Waya Izab Kal Ashar Lawa Bayad Yawasap Wala'a Yadai Athwa Ma'awama Kaya Ath Arslaka Halakam Ashar Hawa'a. Forgive me, y'all. This is the same number. I'm calling the school. Let's see if it's lucky. Yeah, give me 1 second. Shalom, can I help you? Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on, brother? Shalom. All right, forgive me, y'all. Let me try to finish up this Hebrew. Salakia. Yapa Ka'ar Wayapa Mara'ah. Verse 7. Wayahaya Akar Hadabaryum Ha'Allah Wathashah Ashath Adanyawa it's like an Ath Ayanyawa Ayanya Al Yawasap Wakamar Shakaba. Yeah. So that was the first. Well, that was verses 3 through 7. Matter of fact, we got to go to 9. Forgive me. Verse 8. Waya Ma'an. Waya Martha. What Al Ashath. Adanyawa. Han. Adanya. La'a. Yadai. Athya. Ma'a. Baba Yath. Wakal. Ashar. Yash. Lawa. Nathan. Bayad. It's like a Bayadya. Verse 9. Ayan Nawa, forgive me. Got a wall, Baba Yath, Hawa Azaha, Mamanya, La Slaki Wala'a, Kashak, Mamanya, Slaki Ma Wama Kaya, Awafka, Bashar, Ath, Salaki, Ath, Ashathwa, Wa'ayaka, Aisha, Salaki, Haraya, Hagadaha, Ath, Wakat Salaki, Wakatathya, La'alahayim. All right, so that was verses 3 through 9. We're going to read those same 7 verses in the English. What the brother was talking about?
He just having called some about prison or something. I can't even started breaking out.
Okay, no sweat. Did he? Okay, no sweat. All right. Let's do it. Let's read Genesis the 39th chapter. Once again, we're gonna be talking about Joseph. Let's get the first verse so we can break it all the way down. You can go ahead and start reading. I'm gonna pull my sword out.
Book of Genesis, chapter 39, verse 1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt.
This is after. Now the context about this is I think his brother sold him to Serbians, is that correct? Yeah, and then they sold Joseph to the Egyptians, and that's where we are now. And so he's brought down to Egypt, right? That's where we left off at. Go ahead.
Okay. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him out of the hands of the Ishmaelites.
Oh, they were sold to Ishmaelites. That's what it was. So Joseph was sold by his brothers to Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites sold Joseph to the Egyptians, if that makes sense. You had a question? 39 and 1. Yeah, we're starting off at the first verse. Well, we read 3 through 9 in the Hebrew, but we're going to get a little bit more context. So we're going to start off at the first verse. So if you could just read the first verse one more time.
Come on. Book of Genesis, chapter 39, verse 1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites.
Right. So once again, I know I said this about 3 times already. I want to reiterate because I said Serbians earlier and I was wrong. The Ishmaelites, so Joseph's brothers, the 11 other brothers of Joseph, sold him because they were upset and really just jealous. They sold Joseph to Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites then sold Joseph to the Egyptians, and that's where we are now. All right, go ahead.
Okay, which have brought him down thither. Verse 2. And the Lord was with Joseph.
And that's the important part. We have to understand this. Now, even though Joseph was sold into slavery, the Most High was with Joseph. So we're going to find out. That's what this class is really about. And that's why this class is called Call to Remembrance, because we're going to call to remember. There was a time when, this is one of many examples, where our brother was sold into slavery and the Lord was still with him. So just because you're going through something don't necessarily mean that the Lord is not with you. You're going to have to go through things. That happens. But if the Lord is with you, we're going to read about it today. Just one instance that if the Lord is with you, you be all right. You be straight. You be cool, right? And we're going to find out about that, right? So the Lord was with Joseph, even after we're talking about Joseph being sold into slavery into the Egyptians. Okay. But we're reading right now that the Lord was with Joseph. Keep going.
And he was a prosperous man.
And even though he was going to be in slavery, he was a prosperous man. Keep going.
And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian.
Right. And he was in the house, meaning he wasn't somebody that, a slave that had to go out and beat rocks and build them damn pyramids. He was inside. He was calling some of the shots. We can read about that too. He was down there like what you would consider like a vice president or some sort of representative. You understand? That's what he was. Even though he was considered a slave, he was, the Lord was with him, so he wasn't being, destroyed like everybody else, right? But keep going.
Okay. Verse 3. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And
this is something that you have to understand. Like the scriptures, once again, I referenced it earlier, but when the Lord is with you, even your enemies, when your ways please the Lord, even your enemies will be at peace with you. The Jews or the Israelites were enemies to the Hamites or the Egyptians. Forgive me. Right? And so they're not supposed to love Joseph or like what he's doing, but because they see that the Most High blessed the hand of Joseph and everything he did was prosperous, they was like, look, I'm going to put this man in a high seat. You understand? And he's not going to be, and that's something that we have to learn here in America, because once again, the scriptures liken America to Egypt. They go hand in hand. Babylon, Egypt, and America, it's all the same thing. You understand? So we can find favor in the eyes of our oppressor too, but your ways have to please the Lord, so that way your enemies will be at peace with you. You understand? Let's keep reading. I don't want to talk too much about it just yet. I want to show y'all just how his enemies became at peace with him. Let's keep reading.
Verse 4. And Joseph found grace in his sight.
Mm-hmm.
And he served him. And he made him overseer over his house and all that he had put into his hand.
Give me First Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. I'm going to show y'all something. Like, this is really important, okay? He made Joseph, not another Egyptian, but an Israelite. He made Joseph overseer in his house, and all that he had, he put into his hand. Meaning, this man, Joseph, being another nation from the Egyptians, he was put in charge of everything that the Pharaoh had. You have to trust somebody to have them in charge of your stuff, especially being a king or ruler. You have to trust the person that you put in charge of your stuff. But the thing is, this man trusted him because he saw that the Lord was with him. And you can be in that same position. That's what this whole class is about. Call to remembrance. First Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. Call to remembrance. Like, remember what we like. That's why I quoted the scripture in the beginning of the class. The things that were written aforetime, like back then, they were written for our learning. We can learn from this. The Lord gotta be with you though. Otherwise, you're gonna be, nothing in America, which we all are anyway. But the Lord can put you on high. You understand? Because the Lord is with you. Let me get First Maccabees, the 2nd chapter, the 51st verse.
Okay. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 51. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time.
And that's important. Once again, that's where that scripture keeps coming up, right? Things that were written aforetime, written for our learning. Because we have to call to remembrance the things that our fathers did aforetime. This is not the only account that somebody wrote this. Like, this is not the only time somebody said, hey, look at what happened in the past, right? Nobody, that's not something that's new, right? This was a brother that was trying to get other brothers to rebel against the Greek occupation of Jerusalem, right? There was a time, this is the time of the Maccabees, there was a time when the Greeks occupied Jerusalem and took hold of the temple, started sacrificing swine's flesh. It was terrible, had the Israelites in bondage, all of those things. Well, there was a brother named Judas Maccabeus that wanted to rebel. And this is his motivational speech. This is him saying, look, remember in times of old. And all he's really trying to do is just tell you, when the Lord is with you, your enemies can't be against you. It's not going to work. So that's what he's saying right now. He's saying, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. Go ahead.
Shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
And that's why we're talking about Joseph. Skip down to verse 53, and we'll read exactly why we're talking about Joseph.
Verse 53. Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt.
And that's what we just read. Like, Joseph was like the head nigga in charge. You understand? He was the one that all of Pharaoh's everything was put into the hand of Joseph because the Lord was with him. And that's another thing we have to talk about, right? Joseph did what? Kept the commandments of the Most High. Now, Joseph is far before Moses. You understand? So before there was a written law, we understand that there was a set of commandments that the Most High bestowed upon his children, his followers, or I don't want to say his followers, that sounded so Christian, so like it. His chosen people, you understand? There was a specific set of rules that his people had to keep. And Joseph did that. We're going to find out about it. We're going to read about it. You understand? Go ahead.
So if I could just add real quick, when it says to remember the call to remembrance the old ways, we can see clearly, today that these new ways aren't working.
Right.
I'm saying everything from lust and basically lust, everything that everybody does these days that they think they need to get by, is only progressing and destroying our people further. Mm-hmm. So when people say, the Bible is just so old, but we see this when they follow the commandments, people are prospered.
Yeah.
Now we're not following. Now our people are not following these laws, such commandments, And look at where people are at right now.
Yeah, like think about it. You think you got to rap and sell drugs and smoke weed to get rich? Takeoff is a perfect example. He got rich, but then he got murdered. You understand? Like you have to think about it. Even with Michael Jackson, you know, and Prince and all of these people that we looked up to, you know, these cats died drug addicts. They died of overdoses and things like that, which shows you that their prosperity wasn't actual prosperity. That's what this whole thing is about. Like you don't have to be a rapper or a ball player to be rich in America, and you don't have to be rich in America in the American way. You understand? It's a lot that goes into this class, and that's why what you said was so heavy, because we don't really have, as a people, we don't have an example of being prosperous in a righteous way. You know, the prosperity teaching of Christian pastors is, you know, give me all your money. So now you're paying for a $40 million jet for Creflo Dollar, or for what's that other devil? What's his name? The one that got the jet. He bought it from Tyler Perry. The one that got a demon in his eyes. I hate this cat. Not him. Not an old one.
I know you're talking about, I can't remember his name.
I want to call him Ted Bundy, but that's not his name. But I don't know what his name is, but he's screamed a few times. He's the one that said, you know, COVID-19, and then they repeat after him, and then he said this prayer, and it was like, he did the. It was like I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
I know you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
His name is now it's coming to me. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's a devil. He's just going to be somebody serving the kingdom. What I'm saying is cats like that will tell you that prosperity means give me all your money. So you pay them. You pay your tithes and your offerings to them. You give them all your money. They get to live prosperously. That's not true prosperity. They're going to, of course, have to pay for that. We taught a class, I think 2 Sabbaths ago, we taught about regeneration. They're going to be regenerated into, you know, hell. When I mean hell, I'm talking about hell on earth. They're going to regenerate into a harsh servitude. You understand? I don't know why I'm getting all these calls. Forgive me, y'all. Give me 1 second. Shalom, can I help you? Anyway, all right, Salaki, y'all. Jesus Christ. Let's good night. All right. Let's go to Psalms, the 119th chapter.
Psalms, the 119th chapter?
Yes, yeah, Psalms 119. Remember, this class is about calling to remembrance. It's important. Like, this Bible is not here so we can just drop it. That's for sure. This Bible is not here so we can, you know, just flip through it and feel good about ourselves and things like that. This Bible is here as these are records that we're reading. These are records. These are age-old records. You understand? You have to go through these things. Like the scriptures say, search the scriptures. Go through here and read. If you go into the book of Judges, you'll read about history of Israel. 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Samuel. History of Israel, where you just, it's important for us to go over these records, because not only does it tell you how to serve the Most High, but it gives you examples. You have real examples. We're reading about Joseph right now, right? It gives you examples on how to serve the Most High in every given condition. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were under the Babylonian captivity, right? Well, they jumped into fire, knowing that they're probably going to die, but the Lord is on their side, so they might not. They jumped into that fire. They didn't die. They lived. It was supernatural. It was something that would be a spectacle today. Those types of things give you the hope and the reverence that you need for the Most High, because you can see what the Most High can do for you. These records are written so that way you can feel that way, so you can understand, hey, me serving the Most High is better than me serving the white man. Like I'm gonna stand on my 2 feet. I'm gonna be 10 toes down, and I'm gonna serve. Like if we go in the 2nd Maccabees, I think it's the 7th chapter, what is the 7 sons and the one mother. The 2nd Maccabees 7. There was a sister that had 7 sons, and she watched all of them die, and then she died, and all of it was over a piece of pork, a little square piece of pork on a platter. And they tried to get them to eat that piece of pork because they knew that meant that they would separate from God and they would make this king their God, but they wouldn't do it. Those types of things give me the hope that the Lord will be in my favor. You understand? If I do the same thing, if I'm willing to die for the Most High. So let's read it, right? Let's read Psalms 119, And then let's jump down to the 49th verse.
This is Psalms 119, chapter 49. Remember the word unto thy servant, upon which thou hast cast, which thou hast caused me to hope.
And that's once again where our hope comes from. You understand? You have to remember the word unto thy servant. Let's read verse 50.
Okay, verse 50. This is my comfort in my affliction.
That's what we have to understand. Listen, we are afflicted in America, are we not? This is terrible. This place is hell. I mean, I'm working 60 hours a week. Some brothers is working, some sisters, brothers is working 72 hours. Some brothers and sisters working 80 hours a week in a hellhole, slaving. No time to be around your children, your family, and no time to relax. I mean, this place is hell. This is a place that we are in affliction. But this is David, one of the wisest men to live, that has gone through every such thing that we've talked about. You understand? This is my comfort in my affliction. What? Remembering the word, remembering these scriptures. That is what's going to get us through these tough times. It's Saturday. I could be at home sleeping and depressed, but I'm here serving the Most High God. These brothers and sisters that's tuned in with us online, you understand? They are here with us. You understand it? And it's something that's extremely important. We have to find rest in the scriptures. You understand? Like, we have to find rest in the scriptures. That's our only hope. Otherwise, if you want to live like a nigga or anybody in the world, you're not going to find any rest. You're going to look for it, but you're going to be left wanting because you're not going to find any rest. We find rest in these scriptures. And that's what David is talking about. Let's keep going.
Okay. For thy word hath quickened me.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 51. The proud have had me greatly in
derision.
In derision.
Mm-hmm.
Yet have I not declined from thy law.
See, and now this is why it's so important. The proud have had him in derision. Like, that's us today. The proud have had us in derision. That means that, okay, the proud today would be like our oppressor. You understand? Those that are against us, they have had us in derision. They have had us in poverty. They've had us, they've trodden us down. But no matter what, we have to continue to keep the Lord's law. It's easy for you to get into sin when you're being trodden down. Like, when you're beat down in the powder like the black man and woman is, it's easy for you to get into sin. What are your escapes from this poverty? You don't go to the word. You don't go to the scriptures, to the Bible. You go to smoking weed. That's easy. You go to having sex with whores. For you sisters, you go to having sex with a bunch of men. You understand? Because it feels, that's like an escape. Sex is amazing. You understand? And so then you go and you just find that's your escape from the reality that you live in, because your oppressor put you in this reality. Now you go and that's your escape. You're having sex with all manner of people because that's the only pleasure that you can have. You're smoking weed because that's the only pleasure that you can have. A lot of our brothers and sisters now in Arizona are starting to get hooked on this fentanyl because that's the only pleasure they can have. Which really, fentanyl is just putting you to sleep. Like, when you smoke fentanyl, you go to bed. But that's better than being awake and living in reality. That's what this scripture is talking about, the opposite of, right? Instead of me going and doing what I know is easy, I can buy fentanyl. They selling fentanyl for like 50 cents a pop. You can get high for 50 cents? That ain't never been like that. You understand? But that's easier than relying on the word of the Most High God and having hope. And that's why he says our oppressors have put us under derision, right? But yet, meaning even though that's the case, I have not declined from thy law. I still continue to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And that's hard for a lot of people to do. It's hard for you to say, you know what? I'm late on my rent because these devils, ran my rent up $300. So now I'm paying $1,500, which is crazy. How are you going to charge me? I started off paying $1,200. Now this year, you're going to raise the rent for the same thing? Are you giving me more stuff? No, you're not. You're just giving me the same thing, but I got to pay $300 more a month. Now, somebody going to go through that and they're going to say, well, because my rent raised up, I don't have enough money to pay it, so I'm going to start selling dope on the side, and I'm going to poison my people. That's where a lot of our minds go. We can't do that. That's what this scripture is talking about. Although our oppressor has had us in derision, you understand? We're still going to keep the law of the Most High, right? Go ahead.
Verse 52. I remember thy judgments of old.
I remember thy judgments of old. I read the book of Numbers. I read the book of Leviticus. I read where you killed Aaron's sons for offering strange incense unto the Most High. They offered strange incense. This was not, this is talking about witchcraft here, which is the same thing you're doing if you're selling drugs. It's witchcraft. Well, I remember those judgments, so I'm not going to sell weed. I'm not going to smoke it. You understand? That simple. I remember the judgments of old. I go into these records and I see, damn, you killed them for this. You killed them for picking up sticks on the Sabbath day. Okay, well, I'm not going to profane the Sabbath then. You understand? Because I don't want to die like them, like that brother did. You understand? I remember the judgments of old. Keep going.
God, oh Lord, have comfort myself.
Yeah, and that's where we got to get our comfort. Like, we got to get our comfort from understanding what the Most High has done in the past. Shoot, we ain't got to talk about the judgments that he's done on his own people, how he's killed us for doing wrong. We can look at the judgments that he had on the other nations. We can go into the book of Numbers and see how he destroyed the Moabites. We can go into the Bible and see all manner of destruction on the other nations for our name's sake. For us to get our own land, you know how many nations we had to kill? We had to take that land from? We can go and look in these records, and we're doing it right now. We're looking at Joseph. We can see how the Lord can be with you, and that's where you can comfort yourself. You can comfort yourself in the fact that the Lord can be with you the same way he was with Elijah, the same way that he was with Elisha, the same way that he was with Joseph. Right? You have something to say? Let's keep going.
Verse 53. Horror hath taken hold upon me because of the wicked that forsake thy law.
Keep going.
Thy statutes have been my songs in the house of my privilege.
Go ahead. My pilgrimage. Go ahead.
I have remembered thy name, O Lord, in the night, and I have kept thy law.
Mm-hmm.
This I had because I kept thy precepts.
Yeah, and that's important. Like this, people, I swear, I hate that people don't understand why we should still be keeping the law. It's accounts like this and accounts like the Joseph, like the account in Genesis that we're reading. It's accounts like this that make me fully understand why we have to keep the law. Like, the Lord is not with you if you don't keep his law. And it seems because of Christianity, you could take me back to Genesis 39 chapter. It seems like because of Christianity, we feel like we don't have to do so much for the Most High. Even Christians, they say you got to live your life for Jesus because he died for you. But you don't live your life for Jesus. Like, you don't do anything he told you to do. You're not living your life in a godly manner. You think that all Christians, just people can just make mistakes and that's okay. Mistakes happen, but that's not okay. The scriptures say that you have to be perfect like your Father in heaven is perfect. That's what Jesus Christ said. Mistakes are not okay. It's not a good thing to make mistakes because your flesh, you have to live in the spirit. That's what the scriptures tell you to do. So when you live in the spirit and you keep the law, statutes, and commandments that the Most High told you to keep, that is what Christ wants. He doesn't want you to be okay with being a failure and make mistakes, right? And then, of course, the Lord is not going to be with you. And that's the point. This whole class, I want y'all to understand something. This class is about showing you why you should keep the law, statutes, and commandments and what that will do for you. Be selfish today. I'm being serious. Be selfish. Be selfish in the sense that if you know that you keep the law, statutes, and commandments, the Lord will be on your side. So that means that, as long as I keep the law, statutes, and commandments, I'll be good everywhere I go. I'll be all right because the Lord will be with me. If I get fired from my slavery, I'll get a better one. But you can't feel that way if you have a guilty conscience. If you got a guilty conscience, you're like, damn, I don't do shit that the Lord tell me to do. You're gonna be like, if I get jammed up at this job, I'm gonna be on what they call it, unemployment, and make $300 a week, and I'm gonna lose my house and my kids and all of these things. But if the Lord is with you, you'll go through some things, but you know that the Lord is on your side. Joseph went into captivity. He got sold twice. He got sold by his own brother. You know how it must feel to be sold by your own brothers to some dirty, stinking Ishmaelites, and then the Ishmaelites sell you to some dirty, stinking Egyptians. That must feel terrible. But because the Lord was on his side, he was made Lord over the house of Egypt. You understand? That must have felt great. Even though he was sold into captivity, he ended up having a high position in that place. Because if the Lord is with you, ain't nothing nobody could do to put their foot on your neck because the Lord is just going to take his foot off. You understand? You just going to say something?
I want to add to to what you said earlier, just the guilty conscience. I've seen and heard many people say that the Bible should be updated to be more inclusive and to saying that it should be okay with LGBT people.
Updating the Bible is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So when you say it, when you say like they get the conscience, they know what they're doing is wrong. And
They want it to feel right.
They want to feel right. So the only way they know they can make it feel right if they we just update the Bible that way. Now everybody can. The Bible's caught up with modern times, and now it accepts the LGBT people and everybody else that does all kind of crimes of wickedness. Now we don't have to correct ourselves. So what people are basically saying, instead of just looking at the Bible and saying, and first you gotta take your mind off of the Christian mindset.
Yeah.
That we're all brought up under this kingdom. We're all brought up under the Christian mindset. So you can't truly read the Bible and see what the Most High is bringing to you as an Israelite because of those Christian glasses you got on when you read it.
Right.
And so you think that you have to update it when no, all you gotta do is just do what the Most High said.
Yeah. Like our people are still reading the Bible like it's the slave Bible. For those who don't know this, there was an actual Bible that was given to the slaves that took out most of the Bible and only gave like the be obedient to your masters part of the Bible. That's like what our people are reading. Even though they pick up a King James Bible or a New International Version, they always are reading the slave Bible. Doctrine is very extremely what's the word that I'm looking for? It can push you to believe anything. There's something that's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when if you believe in something so much, you will not hear any other side of the story. Like cognitive dissonance means that you will believe that Jesus Christ is the Most High God. Like you'll believe in the Trinity. And then when we come and tell you, well, let's read John, the 17th chapter and show how Jesus Christ is talking to the Most High God, they'll be like, well, yeah, it's just because he's talking to himself. And you'll think that makes sense in your head. That's cognitive dissonance. Like that's what so many people have. And so, yeah, like you said, they're going to try to, because they know it's wrong and they have that guilty conscience, they're trying to put it in here. They're trying to fit it inside of this Bible. So that way they can feel better about it. Because if it's not inside of this Bible, because they know the Bible is the truth, if it's not inside of this Bible, then they're going to continue to feel guilty about it. So you got to somehow sneak it in there. That's why people say in the book of Leviticus, you know how the scriptures say if a man lay with mankind as with womankind, he'll be an abomination, be put to death. That's the scriptures that say you can't be a bati boy. You can't be a homosexual. Well, they try to say that scripture is talking about a man laying with a child and not with another man. So really, there's no law against a man having sex with another man. This is what I'm talking about. They try to twist these scriptures and move them around to make it so where I can be a homosexual. I can't say the word that I would like to say, but I can be a homosexual and still serve God, because that's not really what it means. This is the mindset of so many people, and it's a problem because we start to lose what the Bible is what the Bible actually is. I've come from the stance that this Bible is a record. This isn't like some magic book. I'm not going through here reading magic. I'm not a witch looking for spells in this in this thing. I am looking in here because the scriptures say that you have to read these scriptures because whatsoever was written aforetime was written for our learning. I read these things to learn. I read these things to go through our history, to understand, because this Bible is about the Israelites. I want to know about the Israelites. So I read this thing. But people start to look at this book as a magic book. Like, if I can get homosexuality in this book, then that means it's automatically okay with God. If they could create their own version of the Bible called the LGBTQ version, they would do it, and they would put that you can be a homosexual in there, and then they'll feel okay because people understand that this Bible is the authority. The problem is they're not looking at this Bible as a history record. They're looking at it as like some sort of magic book. You gonna say something else?
I was gonna say what you brought about men said that verse means be led with child. Ask somebody to prove it, and they as you know, 9 times 10, they can't prove what they're saying.
No, they can't.
It's just made up, or they just heard somebody else say like, "Oh, so such and such and such." Well, then give me the data that they use to prove their point.
Mm-hmm.
then there's never no data to prove their point. It's just that what they do is that they'll go into the Blue Letter Bible, search the word, and find all the different meanings for a word. Like, see, mistranslation.
They'll take the one different meaning that they want to apply to that scripture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is where, where a lot of these arguments come up. You had something, sis?
What does the abbreviation mean?
LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, lesbian, gay, LGBT, bisexual, transsexual. Q is queer. Queer is like, queer is just gay. It's just gay. That's all it is. It's the same thing. Yeah. They also put like an IA. I don't know I know asexual is in there, and asexual means that you don't want to have sex with anybody. You just don't like men or women. I don't know. Pansexual is in there. It's a million different things in that LGBTQ element.
The plus sign.
Yeah. P was in there for a while. What is it? Pedosexual, meaning like you're grown, but you feel like you're a child, so you can have sex with a 12-year-old if you want, because you're a 12-year-old in your brain. I don't know, but yeah, that's what that means. That's all it is. It's just a bunch of gay shit. Excuse my language. All right, let's keep reading. Let's go back. Let's go back to Genesis 39 chapter. Let's read verse 5.
Okay. Look at Genesis chapter 39, verse 5. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake.
Right. So that's what's great. Like, the Lord is not with the Egyptians. You understand? The scripture saying in the book of Zephaniah that, the Hamites are going to be destroyed by the Most High's sword. Right. But he still, for Joseph's sake, he blessed the Pharaoh's house, the Egyptian's house, so that way Joseph could live comfortably, because even in his time of affliction, in the time of his captivity, the Lord wanted him to be comfortable. Right? Keep going.
And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand.
It's a lot of trust. Keep going.
Okay. And he knew not all he had, save the bread which he did eat.
And so he put everything into Joseph's hand, meaning he didn't know about where his money was going. Joseph could have ripped this man off if he wanted to. He didn't know where his money was going. He didn't know what was going on at all. The only thing he knew what was going on is that he had food in his mouth when he was hungry. Besides that, he didn't have to worry about nothing. That's like what my rib does for me. I just, I don't know when the car insurance bill is being paid. It just gets paid. I don't know how it happens. It just magically happens, because my rib makes sure that I don't have to worry about nothing. Well, that's what Joseph's job was for Pharaoh, and he was blessed in that, right? Like I said, he could have skipped a couple dollars off the top if he wanted to, because he was righteous. He didn't do that, right? But keep going.
Okay. And Joseph was a goodly person, and well favored.
And he was well favored. Hold that. We got to read this precept now. We got to read it in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16. We got to read this, because I've been quoting this scripture the whole class, but we have to read this scripture, because you're talking about that Joseph was well favored, like people liked him, they favored him. But this man is a slave in Egypt. Don't sound like a slave to me. Well, that's because when the Most High is with you, nobody could be against you. And we're going to read that scripture. Proverbs 16:7.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh his enemies to be at peace with him.
And that's the point. You can take me back, but that's what I wanted to do. I've been quoted all class, but we got to read that scripture. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. The Egyptians are 100%, 110% enemies to the Israelites. However, because Joseph's ways pleased the Lord, the Egyptians well favored Joseph. And that's what we have to understand. Like, you got to live your life like that. A lot of times, like, if you've been in the truth for long enough and you really perfected this thing, you'll start to get people, white people, whoever, that will say, like, there's something different about you. Let's just say that to you. Like, why are you saying that? It's because your ways please the Lord. So a man that's supposed to be your enemy is actually favoring you, because there's something about you. That something is that blessing that we just read about that was bestowed upon Joseph and all of, the people that was around him. You understand? And that's important. And if you want that for yourself in America, you should get right with the Most High. You understand? Let's keep going though. Let's go back to let's get verse 7. Genesis 39 and 7.
Book of Genesis, chapter 39, verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that the master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph. And she said, lie with me.
Right. So now, after all these things, I mean, the brother is so well favored, you know, Pharaoh's wife wanted to have sex with him, which is called what? Adultery. It's adultery. Joseph, because he's a goodly man, you know, he understood that adultery is unlawful. Right? Look, we're going to read that. Keep going.
Verse 8. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house. He hath committed all that he hath to my hand.
So he's saying, look, Pharaoh gave me a job. Everything that he has, he put into my hand to take care of. I got a job to do. Keep going.
Verse 9. There is none greater in this house than I.
He's saying, look, I am top tier. I'm creme de la creme, top of the top. That's what I am in this house. Go ahead.
Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee.
The only thing that he has kept back, I can eat all of the food in this house if I want to. I can do anything in this house that I want, but I can't have you because you are his wife. Keep going.
Because thou art his wife.
Mm-hmm.
How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
And do what against God?
Sin against God.
You know, 1 John 3 and 4 says that sin is the transgression of the law. So now here we are in the book of Genesis 39 chapter, you know, a chapter and a half away from where the written law was given. So then we have to understand that Joseph, how was he a goodly man? Why was the Lord with him? Because he kept the law before the law was even written, because there was an oral tradition or an oral law that was passed down all the way from Adam. It's good to, that's kind of, we just learning that, you know, on the way to the rest of everything that we're going to learn today, because that's important to know. Joseph was like, I'm not going to have sex with you because you are another man's wife and I would be sinning against God. Joseph understood that. And that is important. That's integral to the story. Why? Because Joseph understood that he had to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Before they were ever written down, before they were ever delivered by Moses, he understood that adultery was wrong. Having sex with another man's wife is wrong. And the Lord will not be with you. And he's saying, I'm creme de la creme of this house. I'm, you know, I'm top tier. I'm the nigga. I'm the HNIC, the head nigga in charge in this household. I'm not going to mess that up by sinning against God. That's what he's saying. And rightfully so. And that's what I'm saying. You could be a little selfish with this thing. I don't know. Now, look, he probably didn't want to have sex with no damn Hamite. But you could be put into a position where there's a bad broad that has a husband. And the Lord's been with you because you're in this truth. But this sister is so bad. And she wants to cheat on her man. She wants to commit adultery against her man and get you to commit adultery. You're going to have to make a decision. It's possible. And you're going to have to say, well, no, I'm not doing that because this is a sin against God. Why in the hell would I ever sin against God? I don't care how bad. Now with the temptation going to be there. Satan is always doing his thing. This broad might be the baddest broad you ever seen. And your rod going to try to think for you. You're going to have to think with your brain and think with the spirit. And you're going to have to understand that you can't do this because it would be a sin against the Most High. So I'm not saying Joseph wanted to have sex with this woman, but I'm saying you might be in a situation where you want to have sex with the woman. That's all I'm saying. And you're going to have to be like, look, I got to go with what the Most High told me. You understand? That's a tough thing. People think when you come into the truth, it's like an automatic, like, okay, I'm righteous right now. No, you're a man. You're going to want to have sex. You're a woman. You're going to want to have sex. It's just, that's nature. You're going to have to tame your members. You understand? If your right hand offends you, you're going to have to cut it off. You understand? You are going to have to deny sex from married women, which is something that you would have never done outside of the truth. You're going to have to do that. For a lot of brothers, a lot of sisters, that can be hard. You understand? You have to fight. And so my whole point with that is this. Joseph understood that it was unlawful to commit the act of adultery. Whether he didn't, to my knowledge, it's not written. He didn't have a wife. He wasn't getting no box. That's a perfect chance to get some box. Good opportunity. But he said, no, because I don't want to sin against my God. We have to look back at things like this. That's why this class is called Call to Remembrance. We have to look back at these things and see, for the Lord to be with you, you got to deny some things. You got to deny that blunt. You got to deny that sex. You have to deny certain things so that way the Lord can be with you. So that way the Lord doesn't deny you. You understand? Let's keep reading. Read verse 10 for me.
Okay. Verse 10. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her.
Yeah.
To lie by her or to be with her.
Right. So he didn't want to be around the bride. And this is a terrible situation that Joseph was in. And the Lord was with him. Like, excuse me, I apologize. Every day, this woman is pushing up on him. Y'all probably seen this like in movies or something like that, where a man really just don't want to deal with this woman, but she just keep pushing up on him, trying to tempt him. It's like Satan just coming at you. You understand? Making these little flirtatious remarks and things like that. Like, ooh, Joseph, you look good today. You know, she doing that. She's like, oh, I like the fit you wearing. Okay, I see you. Like, that's the type of thing she's doing. And pushing up on him and things like that. And Joseph, day by day, has to continually resist this woman. Now, this is Pharaoh's wife that we're talking about. And he has to continually resist this woman. And he would lie by her or be with her. Keep reading.
Done. Verse 11. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business.
Mm-hmm.
And there was none of the men of the house there within.
Now, this is the tough part, right? So he went to do his business, whatever he was doing, organizing stuff, whatever his business was in there. But this time there was no other man. Usually there's other men in there, other servants in there that are making, maybe cleaning or whatever the case. But this time there was nobody else save him and Pharaoh's wife. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 12. And she called him by his garment, saying, lie with me.
She had enough. She wanted this Israelite rod. She was done with the little Egyptian rod. She wanted the Israelite rod. And so she day by day had been trying to make her passes at him. It wasn't working. So now she get aggressive. And she caught him by his garment, grabbed him like grabbing this gi right here. Grab it, right? Go ahead. She said what?
Saying, lie with me.
Uh-huh.
And he left his garment in her hand and fled.
And that nigga said, bitch, the fuck are you doing? Excuse my language. Right? And so because that's the case, piece of his garment was left in her hand. She was holding on so tight. He pulled away so hard that garment was left in her hand. Right? Go ahead. A piece of that garment. Go ahead.
And fled and got him out.
He said, I'm out of here. You're not finna catch me up. She was trying to rape him, man. Grape him. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube. I halfway don't care, but I do. I don't want the channel to get suspended. But, she was trying to, force herself on him at this point. The spirit was just so high in her that she wanted some Israelite rod. She was trying to force herself on him. But he, like, as a righteous man, no, you're somebody else's wife and you're of another nation? Absolutely not. He ripped his garment away from her. So that piece of that garment was still in her hand. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And it came to pass when she saw he had left his garment in her hand and fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us.
Mm-hmm.
He came unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice.
This dirty broad lied on his brother and said that basically he tried to force her, and she cried out, which is what, keep going.
Okay. Verse 15. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out.
So she's saying, yeah, she cried out, rape, rape. And when she said that, he got up and left because he was afraid. That's what she's saying. Of course, we know that's not true. We read the truth already. But because she got rejected by this holy Israelite man, she was so offended that she had to lie and say that this man tried to rape her. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 16. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home.
And give me Ecclesiastes real quick, the 7th chapter. This is extremely, mean, this is terrible. But this is, of course, what we understand. Like, that's a death sentence. You're the Pharaoh's wife. You're saying that this man tried to rape you, tried to force himself on you. I'm gonna start saying that instead. Tried to force himself upon you. You know that that's a death sentence. That's like calling the police on a black man. It's like if I call the police on a black man, I just know that the police are going to draw their guns and kill this man. It's just inevitable. It's a death sentence. And so that's why she did what she did. She wanted this man killed. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, sir, that's no different than saying what she did was no different than what white women have done since we've been in this captivity.
Right. White people, IUIC, they do it too. They tried to kill my captain, Captain de Goggleboard. Tried to kill him. Say, oh, he got a gun. He got a gun. That's what they do. Yeah. Let's get Ecclesiastes 7:26.
This book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 26. Now I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands.
So look, her hand, like this is all talking about a woman whose heart is snares and nets. What is a snare and a net? They're traps. All right. And her hands as bands. What are bands? Like handcuffs. This is Solomon saying, I find more bitter than death this type of woman. The woman that's going to trap you, and that's exactly what Pharaoh's wife did. Tried to trap this man. She tried to get him to have sex with her. And this is what probably was going to happen. Just my, this is the way I'm looking at it, right? This is my evaluation of this thing. Most likely, if he would have had sex with her, she would have probably still said, yeah, he forced himself on me. And so when he didn't have sex with her, she said, yeah, he forced himself on me. Why? Because her heart is bands and snares, the nets. You understand? Now let's read the second half of that verse. We gotta read that second half so we can understand the context of what we're talking about. Because her heart is definitely snares and nets, right? She was trying to trap this man, but keep going.
Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her.
Whoso do what?
Pleaseth God shall escape from her.
If you please the Most High, you'll escape from her. We're going to find out that Joseph was not put to death for this woman. We're going to find something out. I'm going to show you something, right? Let's go back to Genesis 39. You got it? Yeah, let's go back to Genesis 39, verse 17.
Look at Genesis chapter 39, verse 17. She spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant.
The she is Pharaoh's wife. The wife is speaking to her husband, the Pharaoh. And she's saying what?
The Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out.
Go ahead.
Verse 19. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled.
So he got upset. That's really what this is talking about. He got upset. This woman told this lie to her husband, saying, hey, he tried to force himself on me. And when I cried out, he left because he was afraid, but I got his garment. Now you imagine that as your husband, as a husband, you're going to, of course, believe your wife, and you're going to be upset. And that's exactly what happened. Let's keep going.
Now, God, verse 20. And Joseph's masters took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison.
So now they took Joseph, put him in prison. You tried to force yourself on my wife. I'm locking you up, right? Keep going. Now, me personally, I'm not an Egyptian, so I'll just kill you. But it's a good thing that he didn't kill him, because this was a wrongful accusation, right? So he put him in prison. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 21. But the Lord was with Joseph.
No, but what?
But the Lord was with Joseph.
Go ahead.
And shewed him mercy. He gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
And he gave him favor in the sight of who?
The keeper of the prison.
So is Joseph in prison or not? He's in prison. This is what I want y'all to understand. May you have to go to prison for this truth? It's possible. May you have to spend the night in jail for this truth? It's possible. May you lose your wife, your husband for this truth? It's possible. May you lose your children for this truth? It's possible. Bad things can happen to you, but if the Lord is on your side, he'll make them bad things not so bad. Like, this isn't a magical thing. You don't come into the truth and then now your life is amazing. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, the 2nd chapter, tells you, when you come into the truth, prepare your soul for trouble. It's not an easy thing. If you are having an easy time in this truth, it means you're doing something wrong. Look at Daniel. You understand? Daniel was thrown into the den of lions. Look at all of these brothers that we see before us. I mean, read the book of Lamentations. We're talking about Jeremiah, one of the holy prophets of God, and he wrote a whole book on how sad he was, how much terrible things he was going through because all of his people rejected him. The Babylonians rejected him. Like, it's not, and look, we're reading about it right now. Joseph. Look at all of what Joseph got. Listen, Joseph got sold into captivity by his own blood brothers to some dirty, stinking Ishmaelites. And then those same Ishmaelites are passing them around, throwing them to the Egyptians. And then once he gets to the Egypt, now all of this is, you have to understand how crazy this sounds already. But now that he's in the hands of the Egyptians, because the Lord was with him, they found favor for Joseph. So now he is in a high-ranking position. And then even then, because Pharaoh's wife hated him for not wanting her, he gets thrown into prison. But then in prison, the prison keeper found favor in Joseph because the Lord was with him. It's like, this is what I'm saying. Yes, you're going to go through things. You might lose your children, your family, people might hate you, like the scriptures say. Jesus Christ himself said that people are going to hate you for my name's sake. So if you serve in Christ, niggas going to hate you. It's going to happen. But even throughout all of that, if the Lord is with you, he'll make it bearable. So yeah, being in prison ain't fun. You get what I'm saying? Prison ain't a fun thing. I done been to jail. That was not fun. That was probably the least fun in my life. But if the Lord is with you, which he wasn't at that time, so it was terrible for me. But if I'm 100% positive that if I go to jail for doing the work of the Lord, which is what brothers have done since 1969, go to jail, get bailed out, for teaching his word, I'm 100% sure that the Lord will be with me because I'm doing the Lord's work. And that's how I look at this. Joseph went to prison, but the Lord was with him. So because the Lord was with him, his time in prison didn't have to be, it was bearable. Y'all get what I'm saying? Let's keep reading.
No, God. Verse 22. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was a doer of it.
So now they make this nigga the warden of the damn prison. Like, this is what I'm saying. Okay. And that's why this story is important, right? Joseph got sold into captivity by his brothers, eventually ending up in Egypt, where he was supposed to be a slave, right? But he ended up not really being a slave. He was like a kind of slave. He was just not really a slave at all. And he was running things. Everything. He was setting up the meetings, he was setting up the councils, he was taking care of the money, he was running things. Even though he was supposed to be in captivity. Well, what was Joseph supposed to be when he got into prison? He was supposed to just be a prisoner. But because the Lord was with him still, he wasn't just a prisoner. He's a goddamn warden. That's the only way I can really frame that. He was a warden. Like, he was in charge of everybody because the Lord was with him. Keep going.
Okay, verse 23. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand.
Don't this sound eerily similar to what Pharaoh was going through? Meaning, Pharaoh didn't have to worry about a goddamn thing. The prison keeper or the real warden, he didn't have to learn. He didn't have to worry about anything either, because he knew that his job was given to a righteous man that was going to make sure he took care of business. Keep going.
Okay. Because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it prosper.
And made it to prosper, and that's the point. You understand? It don't matter where you are. You could be in the slums of the ghetto. If the Lord is with you, he will make you to prosper. You can prosper inside the ghetto. You can prosper anywhere. You can prosper at your slavery. My whole point in bringing this out today, and I pray that everybody got what they needed to get from this thing, but you have to make sure that the Lord is with you. That's what I tell my wife this, I tell brothers this, I tell everybody this. You have to be blameless. That's the point. You got to be blameless. That way, if anything ever comes up, let's say your record gets called before the Most High, you don't want bad marks on your record. You want the Lord to look at you and say, yeah, this is my son, this is my daughter. I want to claim this one. Because we all sons and daughters of the Most High, but some of us he will not claim. That's why the scriptures say many are called, but few are chosen. You don't want to just be called. You want to be chosen. And if you're chosen by the Most High, ain't a goddamn thing your slavery could do. Your slavery can fire you. And you can end up on unemployment. But if you serve the Most High, the Lord is going to open something up for you. And that's what you have to do. You can't live your life, you can't live your life with a guilty conscience. You can't live your life thinking that you can, just, I'm not perfect. I messed up. You got to be perfect. That's a commandment from Christ. Christ himself said, be ye therefore perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. So you have to be perfect. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The problem is that most of us get comfortable because we were raised up in American society that we're comfortable with being adequate. You know what I'm saying? We're comfortable with being, I'm all right. I'm a good person. We try to convince ourselves that we're a good person. We just got a little bit of flaws. We're not allowed to be like that. Israel is like, read for me real quick, if you could, Deuteronomy 7th chapter. I want to show you something. I always bring this out at camp, but I'm going to bring it out today because I want everybody to understand how serious this is. We just read about Joseph, right? Going through all manner of hell, but it being like heaven for him because the Lord was on his side. I want to show y'all why that is. Give me Deuteronomy 7 and 6.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
Mm-hmm. That's what the Lord, now let's do this thing. I'm gonna just break it all the way down. The scriptures, like this is Moses delivering the word of the Most High, right? We are a holy people. Holy means separate. We're supposed to be separate from all of the rest of the other nations. So that means that we're special. Keep going.
Unto the Lord thy God.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all the people that are upon the face of the earth.
I don't think this sinks into people's brains enough. The Lord chose blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the people that the earth hates, the Lord loves above all other nations. And he picked us to be a special people. He sees something in us. You got to be that thing that he sees. Don't act. I know that we're in captivity. I know that, being in America, let's say you don't even believe we're in captivity. Maybe you're one of them idiots to think that we're free in America. Fine. Don't act like white people. Don't act like the Asians that you see here. Like, don't act like the other nations because they don't have the same morals as us, as we're supposed to have. They don't have the same standards that we're set to a high standard, a very extremely, exceedingly high standard. You don't get to act like other nations. And that's what the Lord, like Joseph, if he was going to act like an Egyptian, he would have just had sex with that lady. All right, that's enough. I'll just have sex with you. Even if he didn't think she was pretty, he would have just had sex with her because they're primal by instinct. Other nations are primal, but we are the chosen people, the princes and the princesses of power. You understand? Keep going.
Okay. Verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor chose you, because ye were more in number than any people.
And that just goes to show this: the Most High didn't choose us for any respecter of persons. Like, it wasn't because we had the biggest army or the biggest amount of people. No, keep going.
For ye were the fewest of all people.
But we were the fewest of all people. We came into Egypt 70 deep when Egypt was an established nation. He could have chose the Egyptians. They was an established nation. Powerful too. He could have chose them. So this ain't had nothing to do with, he just liked the fact that we had a lot of, nothing about that. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 8. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had made, which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out of a mighty hand.
Right. And that's the point. The Lord loved us. It ain't about us having numbers. It ain't about none of that. The Most High chose us because he loved us. He saw something in us, and you got to be the thing that he saw. You can, if you want your treasure on earth, that's what Christ was talking about. you got to lay up your treasures in heaven, because the things that's on earth, it's going, this all going to go away. Especially in America, this place is going to turn into a pit of hell. This place is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear warfare. And, this is all nothing. It's just material things that are laid up for you now. So if you want to get rich now and, feel like you have the favor of the Lord on you now with money, I mean, you could do that. Takeoff tried it. He got put to death. May the brother rise in the kingdom. But it's just, so many people, PNB Rock and all of your, all of your rappers and your artists and your, people, influencers and things like that. This all stops for them here. I'm not looking for glory in America. I'm not looking for glory in, in captivity. I'm looking to build up my treasures in heaven. You have something you want to say? Yeah, like I'm building up my treasures in heaven. I'm doing this. You know what I could be doing right now? I could be working. Could be working on the Sabbath, breaking the Lord's Sabbath, go make some extra money so I can, feel a little bit better in hell. I could do that if I wanted to. You understand? But I'm building up my treasures in heaven. So this, we always say, we don't get paid for this. I don't get $1 for doing this. I'm not being paid hourly. I'm not getting paid $50 an hour to be sitting up on this podium. You understand? But I know that my treasures are being built up in heaven for me right now. The Lord is going to see these things, and Lord allow, if I'm decent enough to be able to make it, the Lord is going to have me in that kingdom, and I'll be set up just fine. That's the point. You understand? Joseph understood that. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you the what's amazing about the story too is bringing it up is that showing that we've always had the law.
Right.
For all those Egyptians said that we stole everything from Egypt. It shows one that they don't read the Bible.
Yeah, for sure.
It shows that they don't read it because if you know that if they know that they said that Moses brought the law, so then how would Joseph know what is a sin against God?
Right.
So it shows that we always had it. So that we always had it. It was an oral tradition. Just because it's written down later doesn't mean it was something new then.
Right.
We always say just now, long with having the law. Now we also have the punishments that comes with breaking the law.
Right.
And everything's not written down, it's established. So now we can go back to the records and see you can't do this, you can't do that, you can do this, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I just want to bring it up how does this class and speaking about Joseph really shows our people always had the law since the time of Adam.
Right.
How would you know what's clean and unclean?
Right. Like Noah. Noah knew, like they always say that, 2 of every animal into the ark. But really, it was 2 of every clean animal and 2 of every unclean.
Clean animals and 7 of the clean.
Yeah, 2 of every unclean animal and 7 of the clean. Why? So he has, and that's not the point. But yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's another integral part to this story too, is just to understand that we've always had principles. Like to Egyptians, listen, oh God have mercy. I could just talk about all the nasty things that Egyptians do. Incest is not unlawful in Egypt. The creation of Egyptian culture comes from a brother and sister having sex. The creation of earth to them, Jeb or Geb, is him nutting into his own mouth. That's the creation of Egyptian culture. The Egyptian, they believe that there is a man or a god by the name of Geb that ejaculates into his own mouth, and that's the inception of earth. That's how earth was created. That's what they believe. It's disgusting. The Israelite will put you to death for something like that. Put you to death for the incest. All of the nasty things, the homosexuality inside of Egyptian culture, they will put you to death for that. Throw you into a pit and throw rocks at you until your eyes are inside your head. Until your brain turns to fucking mush. Excuse my language. That's what we'll do to you for the things that they are okay with. So no, we cannot allow ourselves to have morals that stem from that. Captain Zaryak always says, he said, would you put that image? Hold on 1 second, it's lucky. He said, would you He said, "Would you put there's an image? I'd put it on the screen if it wasn't so disgusting. But would you put your children? I mean, would you put an image of Geb ejaculating into his own mouth? He got a thing. He's bent over with his rod out, and he's ejaculating into his own mouth. They said, would you put that in your living room so your kids can see it every day? Like, would you do that? Like, I got a depiction of Christ. I got a depiction. I got all these pictures of my generals and depictions of old, what do you call that from Russian icons? Pictures of those things. I got, mighty pictures. You gonna put a picture of Geb, nothing in his mouth? Excuse my language. I hate to sound so vulgar, but that's their culture. That's what it is. We understand that, anybody with common sense understands that is just ridiculous. My point is that we can't allow ourselves to fall under the culture of our oppressors or anybody else. You understand? We can't. Even let's just take it off of our oppressors. Hawaiians ain't never did nothing to us. Like Japhites ain't really ever did anything to Israelites, had us in captivity or nothing like that. We still don't want to follow their things. They love ham and spam and things like that. Don't they love like spam? They love like a lot of pork. Hamites? Yeah, they love that. Look, we can't follow them either. Even though they ain't never done nothing to us for real, we can't follow them because they have a different set of morals. So we can't even, you get what I'm saying? It all clashes. The scriptures say that you can't, serve God and mammon. Like you're going to either love one or hate the other. And that's the point. And just to reiterate, that Joseph understood that. He said to himself, I know I'm in captivity in Egypt. I know adultery is okay with them, but I can't be an adulterer because God said don't be an adulterer. Going back to your point too, the fact that he knew that is incredible. It's 100% proof. That, along with the story of Noah with the clean and unclean animals, it just goes to show that the Lord has always had a standard for us. That's a good thing. Like your father has a standard for you. He's not okay with you just being like everybody else, because we surely could and prosper. You know how prosperous we could get if we were allowed to do the things that the heathens do? Like the heathens step on toes to make their money. We're not allowed to deal with our brothers falsely. That's what the scripture said. That's a law. But they deal with each other falsely, and that's how they get up on these millions of dollars. We're not allowed to do that. And that's why we can't get rich in the American standard. But what we can do is we can get rich in the sight of the Most High, and the Lord will lay up, treasures for us in heaven. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. Anybody have anything? All right. Let me just look at this real quick. Salaki, 1 second. I'm sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. Forgive me. With that, Mayim, which means to stand. When y'all go done, which means to turn and face the east. We're going to go ahead and close out the class with the prayer. With the prayers. All right, beginning with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Tabaa, Atazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Thalanawa, Lacham, Kalyawam, Wasalakanawa, Kawatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawathinawa, Wala'a, Tawayanawa, Manasai 1, Abal, Kawashayanawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Malakwa, Wa'ala, Watapara, Laiwalamyam, Aman. All right. We're going to read the Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
thy kingdom come.
thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done on earth
Thy will be done on earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily
our
bread,
daily bread,
and forgive us our debts
and give us our debts,
as we forgive our
and
debtors.
forgive our debtors.
And lead us not to
Lead
temptation,
us not into
but
temptation,
deliver us from evil.
deliver us from
For
evil.
thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the
and
kingdom,
the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it.
The cock of the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Ma'ashem Yahushua,
Babu Kushai,
Baba Kasha,
Nathalan Awahakak,
Nathanael Hakat,
Hakat Larapa'ah,
Hakat Rapah,
Kal Maka'ala,
Wakal Makal,
Wakal Madawa,
Wakal Madawa,
Hakat Latahar,
Hakat Latahar,
Hamat Azariah,
Hamat Zariah,
Hakat,
Hakat,
Lakwayam,
Lakwayam,
Hamathium,
Hamat,
Hakat,
Hakat,
Arakawa,
Arakawa,
Atama'ala,
Atama'ala,
Garshan,
Agarshan,
Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Ma'ashem Yahushua,
Wadaman.
Wadaman.
In the English, Yahweh.
Yahweh,
In the name of
in
Yahushai,
the name of Yahushua,
please give us the power.
please give us the
The
power.
power to heal all manner of sickness
Power to heal all manner of sickness,
and all manner of disease.
all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
Power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to raise the dead.
Power to raise the
The
dead.
power against unclean
Power
spirits
against unclean
to
spirits.
cast them out.
To cast them out.
In the name of
In
Yahushai,
the name of Yahushua,
thank you, so be it.
thank you, so be it.
Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah,
Asha'ah,
Ayanya,
Ayanya,
Ahaharyam,
Ahar,
Mayan,
Ma'yan,
Yaba'ah,
Yaba'ah,
Isaiah,
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 Ma'aim,
Ma'an,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Aisha,
Aisha,
Shamayam,
Shamayam,
Waratazah,
Baratza,
Ayathan,
Ayathan,
Lamawat,
Lamawat,
Regalka,
Regal,
Ayanawam,
Yanawam,
Shamarka,
Shamar,
Hana,
Hana,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Yanawam,
Yanawam,
Wala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Yayashan,
Yayashan,
Shamar,
Shamar,
Yashala,
Yashral,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Shamarka,
Shamarka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Tazalka,
Tazal,
Al-Yad,
Ayat,
Yanyanka,
Yanyaka,
Yawamam,
Yawamam,
Hashamash,
Hashmat,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Yakaka,
Yakaka,
Wayarak,
Wayarak,
Walayala,
Wayala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamarka,
Shamarka,
Makal Rai,
Makal Rai,
Yashamar,
Yashamar,
Adnapashka,
Napashka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamar,
Yashamar,
Taza'afka,
Taza'afka,
Waba,
Wabah,
Wa'aka,
Wa'aka,
Ma'aitha,
Ma'aika,
Wa'ai,
Wa'ai,
Aulam.
Aulam.
All right, we're going to read Psalms 83rd chapter in the Hebrew. Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Adamayalaka,
Adam Malakah,
Al Thakarash,
Al Thakarash,
Al Thashakwat,
Al Tashakwat,
Al
Al
Kayahana,
Kayahana,
Al Yabyaka,
Al Yabika,
Yahamayawan,
Hamayuan,
Ra'ash,
Ra'ash,
Al Imaka,
Al Amaka,
Yarayamwa,
Al Yamu,
Sawada,
Sawada,
Wayatha,
Wayatha,
Yaitazawam,
Yaitazawam,
Al Tazapawanyaka,
Asas Pawanyika,
Amarwa,
Amaru,
Lakawa,
Nakawa,
Wanakagidam,
Manakakidam,
Galya,
Galia,
Wala'a,
Wala'ah,
Yazakar,
Zakar,
Sham Yashala,
Shem Yashral,
Awada,
Awada,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Nawaitazawam,
Aitazam,
Laba,
Laba,
Yakadwa,
Yakadwa,
Alyaka,
Ayaka,
Baryath,
Baryat,
Yakarathwa,
Yakarathwa,
Ahalya,
Ahaya,
Adawam,
Adawam,
Washmalium,
Washmali,
Mawa'aba,
Mawa'ab,
Wagaryam,
Wagari,
Gabal,
Gabal,
Wamawan,
Namawan,
Wamalak,
Wamalak,
Palashah,
Palashah,
I'm Yeshabya,
Ayeshabi,
Tazawar,
Tazawar,
Gamashawar,
Ramashawar,
Nalawa,
Nalawat,
Imam,
Imam,
Hayawa,
Hayawat,
Zarawat,
Zarawat,
Labanyalawat,
Nabayulawat,
Salah,
Salah,
Aishalaham,
Ashalaham,
Kamadyan,
Kamadi,
Kasaya,
Kasayat,
Sara'ah,
Sara'ah,
Kayabyan,
Kayabi,
Barakal,
Nakar,
Kwayashwan,
Kayashwan,
Nashamadwa,
Nashamagwa,
Bayan,
Bayan,
Dara,
Dara,
Ahayawa,
Hayawat,
Daman,
Daman,
La'adama,
Adam,
Sayathamwa,
Shaitamwa,
Nada,
Nada,
Yabmawa,
Yamawat,
Ka'ira,
Ka'ira,
Mukaza'aba,
Mukaza'ab,
Mukazabak,
Mukazabak,
Mukazazal,
Mukazazal,
Mana'ai,
Mana'ai,
Call,
Kar,
Nasaya Kamwa,
Messiah Kamwa,
Ashar,
Ashar,
Amar,
Amar,
Nairashah,
Nairashah,
Lanawa,
Lanaw,
Ath,
Ah,
Nawath,
Nawat,
Alahayim,
Alahai,
Alahaya,
Alahai,
Sayathamwa,
Shaitamwa,
Kagalgala,
Gagala,
Kakwash,
Shakwash,
Lapanya Rakah,
Abaya Rakat,
Ka'ash,
Ka'ash,
Thaba'ira,
Taba'ira,
Ya'ira,
Ya'ira,
Wakalahabah,
Talabat,
Thalahat,
Talahat,
Haryam,
Maryam,
Khan,
Gan,
Tharadapma,
Tawadat,
Basirika,
Basirika,
Wabasa,
Babasa,
Wapathka,
Patka,
Thabalam,
Tabahalam,
Mala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Panyaham,
Panyaham,
Kalawan,
Kalawan,
Weabakwashwa,
Rebakasha,
Shamka,
Shuka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yabashwa,
Yabashwa,
Weabahawa,
Warbahar,
Aya'ai,
Aida'ai,
Weakaparwa,
Wakapar,
Weabadwa,
Waibakwa,
Wedaiwa,
Waida'ai,
Kayatha,
Wayatha,
Shamka,
Shunka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Labadka,
Labat,
Ayuan,
Ayuan,
Alkal,
Alkal,
Rakasa.
Awatza.
All right. We're going to read the blessings. Forgive me. We're going to read Psalms 83, but we're going to read it in the English. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
And be not still, O God.
For lo,
Thine
enemies make a tumult.
enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
And they hate thee have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They take crafty counsel against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
Come,
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
let's cut them off from being a nation.
The name of Yasharallah
The name of Yahshua
may be no more in remembrance.
may be no more remembered.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
And they consulted together with one consent.
They are confederate against thee,
They are confederate against thee.
the tabernacles of Edom,
Tabernacles of Edom.
and the
And
Ishmaelites,
the Ishmaelites.
of Moab,
Of Moab.
and the Hagarenes,
Hagarenes,
the Baal,
the Baal.
and Ammon,
And Ammon.
and Amalek,
And Amalek.
the Philistines,
Philistines.
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also is joined with them.
So also join with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They're hoping the children of Lot.
Salah.
Salah.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
As to Sisera.
As to Sisera.
As to Jabin.
As to
At the
Jabin.
brook of
The
Kassan,
book of Kassan.
which perished and endured.
Perished and endured.
They became as dung for the earth.
They became a dust for the
Make
earth.
their nobles like a red,
And then almost like a red.
and like Zeel.
And like the egg.
Yea,
Yea.
all their princes as Abba,
All their princes have survived.
and as Amunah,
And as Zabuna,
who said,
who said,
let us say to
let's
ourselves,
take to
the
ourselves
houses of God
the houses of God
in possession.
in possession.
Oh my God,
Oh my God.
make them like a wheel,
They do like you will.
as the stubble before the wind,
As the stubble before the wind.
as the fire burneth the wood,
As the fire burneth the wood.
and as the flame setteth the mountains on
As
fire.
the flames set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them with thy tempest,
Persecute them with thy tempest.
and make them afraid with thy storm.
Make them afraid with thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame,
Fill their faces with shame.
that they may see thy name.
That they may see thy name.
O Yahweh,
Oh Yahweh.
let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Yea,
Yea.
let them be put to shame and perish,
If you put the shame in perish.
that men may know that thou,
That men may know that
whose
thou,
name alone
his name alone,
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh.
art the most high of all the earth.
Art the most high of all the earth.
All right, now we're going to read the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Why Yahweh Shai?
Why Yahweh Shai?
Why Lahayim?
Why
Slaki. Why Yahweh Shai?
Why Yahweh Shai?
Why Ma'aka
Why
Allah?
Mike Allah?
Why Lahayim?
Why Lahai?
Matazav Ya'ah.
Zav Yah.
Allah Wap Yahana.
Allah Wap Yahana.
Ha'ala Wapyam.
Allah Wap.
Hasaranyam.
Hasarani.
Hakwatazayanyam.
Kwatazayah.
Hakayayoyam.
Yah.
Why Gwathim.
Why Wati.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Why Shem Yahweh Shai.
Why Shim Yahweh Shai.
What I'm.
Why Laman.
All right, in the English. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Michael.
And Mike.
And the angels.
Yea.
Commanding General Yahana.
Manager Yohana.
The generals,
General.
the captains,
Captain.
the officers,
The officers,
the troopers,
the troopers,
and the sisters.
And it's a
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
in the name of Yahweh Shai,
Name Yahweh Shai.
thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it.
Sorry, while you're shopping, you could be seated. Any brother that would like to be anointed, you can step up. All right. All right, you know the drill. I'm gonna say these prayers, point to you, so you name three times. Yabaraka Yahweh, Waya Shamarka, Yar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Auyaka, Waya Kanka, Yasha Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Auyaka, Waya Shamlaka, Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Hagan,
Razan.
Razan,
Razan.
Razan,
Razan.
Razan, by Shem Yahweh Shai, the Wadama, clap it up for the brother. All right, sis, if you'd like to be anointed, you can step up. Shalom, can I help you? Hey, what's going on, sir? Can I call you back in about 5 minutes? I'm about to close out this episode. You got it. I'm gonna call you right back. All right, let's go. Shalom, real quick. All right, sis, you know the drill as well. Say these prayers. You say your name 3 times. Yabaraka Yahweh, Waya Shamarka, Yar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Auyaka, Waya Shamlaka, Tlaki, Waya Kanka, Yasha Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Auyaka, Waya Shamlaka, Shalom, Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Hagan, Rayana, Rayana, by Shem Yahweh Shai, the Wadaman. Clap it up for the sister. All right, what we just said in the English to both the brother and the sister is Yahweh bless thee and keep thee, Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless, heal, shield, and protect that brother, that sister. That's out of Numbers, the 6th chapter, verses 22 through 27. We're going to go ahead and close out the Sabbath service. So just a minute, Imagine, which means to stand. We'll give each other a courtesy salute. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Barakatah. Sorry to the sister. Sister Imagine. We'll get a sister a courtesy salute as well. Manavish Ramajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Latham Bashem Yahushua. Yajim Matah, dismiss.